Once upon a time, in a village by the sea, there lived a poor fisherman and his wife. They had an old and leaky boat which they used for fishing to put food on the table. But they were so poor that sometimes they had to be grateful for a fish that was small enough to feed only one of them. So you can imagine how happy they were when one day the fisherman caught a huge fish, bigger than any he'd ever seen before. It was almost as big as their boat. "We're going to have fish for dinner every night this week," the fisherman said to his wife, and she agreed. But after the first night of eating fish, she got tired of it. "I don't want to eat fish anymore," she told the fisherman the next morning. "I want something different." He argued with her, saying they should be grateful for the big fish and that many people would be glad to have its leftovers. But she would not listen. She wanted meat, she said, or perhaps a juicy sausage. The fisherman sighed. What could he do? He took the fish bones to the market to see if anyone wanted them. But everyone refused to buy them, so he went home again without any money. On the way, he met an old woman who asked him what was inside the bag. The fisherman told her it was fish bones, and she offered to buy them. "I need them for a potion," she said, handing over some money. Then she gave him a small box and told him to give it to his wife. "This will make your wish come true," the woman said mysteriously. The fisherman returned home empty-handed, but with a box, which made his wife suspicious. She opened it and found a tiny genie. The genie rubbed the box with a cloth and suddenly grew to the size of a giant. "You have awakened me from my slumber," the genie boomed, "and as a reward, I will grant you 3 wishes." The fisherman and his wife looked at each other in surprise. "3 wishes? Anything you can imagine?" the genie said. "Think carefully about what you want. I will grant it to you." The fisherman thought for a moment. "I've always wanted to have a new boat," he said. "A big and strong boat that won't leak, so we do want to have to worry about the weather or the sea." Poof! The genie waved his magic wand and the fisherman's wish was granted. Before his eyes, a magnificent ship appeared. It was bigger than any boat he'd ever seen, with sails as white as snow and red stripes like a delicious apple. It had a shiny golden rudder and a mast that reached up to the clouds. It was so beautiful that the fisherman could only stand and stare. "Wow," he whispered, "it's even better than I imagined." The fisherman and his wife set off on their amazing ship. They sailed past green meadows under sunny skies, all the way to a faraway island where gold coins grew on trees instead of fruit. "It's real," the fisherman cried. Jumping from the ship, "Grab as much treasure as you can carry." The couple filled sacks with gold coins and precious jewels until they were too heavy to lift. Then they returned to their ship and set sail for home. But on the way, a storm arose. The wind grew stronger and stronger. The waves crashed against the ship. The fishermen struggled to keep it steady, but the storm was too powerful. Suddenly, a big wave hit the ship and knocked the fisherman and his wife into the water. They clung to each other and tried to swim to the nearest land, but the current was pulling them away from the shore. Just when they were about to give up hope, a huge fish approached them. It was the biggest fish the fisherman had ever seen, with scales that glittered like gold and fins that shone like silver. It opened its mouth, and the couple jumped into its mouth, and poof, they were magically transported back to their village. The fisherman and his wife looked around in disbelief. They were standing on the shore, holding hands, and the fish was gone. They turned to each other and burst out laughing. They had never felt so lucky to be alive. From that day on, the fisherman and his wife lived happily ever after, and whenever they saw a big fish in the sea, they remembered the magical fish that saved their lives.